The LA Kings drag up some bad memories with a weird win over the Ducks to close out the preseason. Plus, the Kings may be without a key member of the team for the season opener. And what is the big surprise the Kings have in store for us for opening night? That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast and YouTube show wrapping up the night in the NHL, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Well, the LA Kings played their final preseason game against the Anaheim Ducks, their only home preseason game, and it was quite a ride. A quick recap, the Kings dominated the first two periods of this game. The Kings got power play goals from Quentin Byfield and Warren Foegele. Philip Deneau scored an even strength, and LA had a 3-0 lead after the first period. No scoring in the second period, but the Kings were clearly the better team in that period as well, and they were looking to cruise to a relatively easy victory. Ducks only had 9 shots on goal after 2 periods. In the third period, Philip Deneau scored his second goal of the game, made it 4-0, and it seemed like the only question was, would goalie Darcy Kuemper get a shutout? Well, he would not. The Ducks would score twice in less than 2 minutes. With just a minute 16 to go, the Kings took a penalty. Anaheim pulled their goalie for a 6-on-4 power play. They scored to make it 4-3. And then again with the goalie pulled and 49 seconds to go in regulation, the Ducks shockingly tied up the game at 4-4. In the 3-on-3 overtime, Kevin Fiala would score on a wicked one-timer, and all's well that ends well, I guess. The Kings close out their preseason schedule with a 5-4 victory over the Ducks. The Kings outshot Anaheim. It seemed like that was not even going to be a foregone conclusion after 2 periods. 31-22, Kings outshoot the Ducks. LA's special teams, which we're going to get into in just a second, were very good, going 2 for 3 with the man advantage. Ducks were 1 for 4. Face-off percentage favored the Kings 55% to 45%. Hits favored the Ducks 33-22, and block shots favored the Kings 15-10. As for the big takeaway from this game, I know some Kings fans were having flashbacks to the playoffs. LA unable to hold a third period lead, of course, in games 3 and 4 of the postseason against the Oilers. I, however, am not having flashbacks to that. I've said all along, I'm not taking too much away or overreacting too much from anything that happens in the preseason. The Kings were dominating this game. They did let their foot off the gas a bit, which honestly, in a preseason game when you're up 4-0 and you're probably let's get this over with. Let's get to the regular season. Let's get nobody hurt. I get it. And I'm not going to say, oh my God, what happened to the playoffs? We're seeing that again here in this preseason game. I'm not going there. If you want to, that's fine. I will credit the Ducks for making a game of this in the third period, but overall from this game, I actually think that Jim Hiller would rather have this result rather than just this 5-0 or 4-0 kind of dominant win. Because this game, which doesn't count, even though the Kings won, he can use to just be a reminder of, hey guys, we're not letting our foot off the gas. We're going to stay aggressive for 3 periods of hockey or beyond, whatever the case may be. It's a good lesson to be reminded by. And you could say, well, they shouldn't need to be reminded of that after what happened in the playoffs. But this is not that. The Kings didn't go into like a defensive shell and stop playing. They were playing, but they were overpassing. They were looking for fancy plays. They're like, we've got enough goals. This team isn't very good. And they were trying to kind of spread the wealth around, get everybody involved. I think if they were playing a quote unquote real game, a regular season game, I don't think we would have saw some of what happened. I think they were trying to get a lot of different guys in the score sheet. And, like I said, it's a preseason game. If this had happened in a regular season game, okay, I'd be a little bit more concerned. Ultimately, though, what's going to matter is not what the Kings do in the regular season. It's what the Kings do in the playoffs. So if you're concerned that somehow this is a repeat of the ghosts of Christmas past, again, it doesn't. Maybe let's just say they go the whole regular season and they play well, and they don't do anything similar to what we saw in the playoffs. It doesn't matter, because once we get in the playoffs, that's where we have to find out if the lessons have been learned, if the strategy is going to be different. So it's just a preseason game. Like I said, I'm not taking a ton away from anything that happened in the preseason. I didn't watch that final few minutes and think, I didn't have flashbacks to the Oilers. All I thought about was, this is a weird game, and let's get it over with, and let's get on to the real game. As far as the lineup for the Kings in this one, it was a little different, and we'll explain why and maybe talk about some of the ramifications of it coming up. But the top two lines were what you would expect. And this being the final preseason game for the Kings and the Ducks, we expected and got more of a opening night NHL lineup. So the top two lines, Kopitar centering Kuzmenko and Kempe, Byfield centering Fiala and Moore. No surprise there. A little bit of a surprise that the third line saw Philip Deneau centering Warren Foegele and Joel Armia. We'll give you the details on why coming up. The fourth line was centered by Samuel Hellenius. Jeff Malott was on the left side, and Alex Turcotte was playing on the right side. Now, the previous game, he played on the left side on the wing. We've also seen him at center this preseason as well. So Alex Turcotte continues to show what we knew, but kind of reaffirming it. He's kind of the Swiss Army knife for the Kings. They can literally play him anywhere in the lineup they need to. And if there are situations this year where somebody does get injured, get dinged up, maybe even suspended, who knows, Turcotte is that guy you can kind of put everywhere. At the same time, I think he would like to have a more anchored position somewhere, and I thought that was going to be fourth line center, but maybe circumstances have changed that. Again, we'll get into that a little bit more. As far as the defensive pairings, you had Mikey Anderson and Drew Doughty on the top pairing. Brandt Clark was penciled in on the second pairing with Joel Edmondson. Edmondson back in the lineup after taking the previous game off against Utah. And then the third pairing was listed as Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin. But of course, it's more about minutes played than necessarily where they line up to start the game. The goaltenders, Darcy Kemper getting the start, and Anton Forsberg was the backup. So as far as the Kings go from a team standpoint, what was good for the Kings? Well, through 2.5 periods, pretty much everything. But I think specifically I wanted to focus on the special teams, because the Kings got a pair of power play goals, and each power play unit scored goals. The first power play unit, 5 forwards, Byfield, Fiala, Kuzmenko, Kopitar, and Kempe. On that first power play goal, it was Byfield to Fiala to Kuzmenko, then back to Byfield in the high slot. He didn't get all of it, did Quentin Byfield. He hit ironically a knuckle puck against the Ducks, but it goes into the net. But great puck movement, and that 5-forward number one power play unit for the Kings looked really, really good. Now, the second unit, which is got a little bit more of a blue-collar feel to it, had a nice goal as well. Brandt Clark was down low on the side of the net. Remember, he's the defenseman, but they've got him playing more like a forward on the power play. He passes it through the crease, trying to get it the other side of the net to Warren Foegele. It gets deflected, but goes on net, and then Warren Fogel's there to stuff in the rebound. Interesting that with Alex Laferriere out of the lineup, that Joel Armia was playing on the point on the power play. Now, he's known much more as a defensive player and a penalty killer. So to see him on the point on the power play was surprising. We did kind of learn afterwards that it's something he did do early on in his career, which is surprising. So maybe Joel Armia is a little bit more versatile than he was kind of sold to us to be. So very interesting to see on the point of the power play, and that could be something we might see a little bit more coming up. We'll again talk about that a little bit later on. The Kings penalty kill was strong for most of the game. They did allow that 6-on-4 power play goal late that made it 4-3. But the Kings using a diverse set of penalty killers. We've seen Anze Kopitar, we've seen Kempe, Byfield, Fogle, Moore, Deneau, Armia, all playing on the PK. And defensively, you've got everybody basically, but Brandt Clark, Doughty, Anderson, Dumoulin, CC, Edmondson, all seeing time on the Kings penalty kill. So there's a lot of different people that can be used. And if they are used, then that could certainly be an advantage in particular, to keep other players fresh, or if they're, guys like Kopitar and Doughty, if they don't have to play on the PK or play limited minutes on the PK, then obviously that should make them fresher for later in the game and for other players as well. So a nice night for Phillip Deneau. A weird game for Darcy Kemper. We will get into some of the individuals, including how many minutes did Brandt Clark play. We will do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you'd like to bet. Player props, build a same-game parlay, or even jump in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We are talking about the LA Kings' wild 5-4 overtime win in their preseason finale against the Ducks on Saturday, and wanted to talk about some of the individual performance in this one. And let's start with Phillip Deneau, who scored a couple of goals in this one. Not necessarily known for his goal scoring, known more for his defense and his faceoffs and even his assists. So goal scoring is kind of down the line for Phillip Deneau, but he showed some really nice goal scoring ability in this game. On his first goal, he was in front of the net. Point shot from Joel Edmondson, saves made. The rebound goes to Deneau. He kicks it to his stick and then puts a shot on net on a backhand shot. Save made, and then he gets the rebound again and shows great hands putting it up in the top part of the net. Didn't know that Phil had those kind of silky mitts. And then his second goal, a nice little give and go with Brian Dumoulin. One-timer straight away. And Phil showing some tools in the toolbox on that one. I liked what I saw, and hope we see some more of it this season. He had a lot of good scoring chances in the previous game too. Couldn't finish, but he certainly did in this game against the Ducks. Kevin Fiala, good Kevin in this one. He was part of that Quentin Byfield power play goal early in the game. Made a nice pass to Andrei Kuzmenko, who then one-timed it to Byfield, who scored. And then Fiala gets the 3-on-3 overtime game winner. He skated the puck into the zone, passed it off, got it right back, and then one-timed a beautiful shot in the top part of the net to end the game. Warren Fogle was the person that passed him that puck, and he had a power play goal earlier, which we talked about. Just a nice stuff in at the side of the net. Fogle also getting that primary assist on the overtime game winner. He started it off by passing the puck along the boards to Fiala. Obviously, a lot of room in that 3-on-3. Fiala is a type of guy you want to get him the puck in the overtime, get him that space. He then dropped it to Fogle and immediately put himself in a position to fire a one-timer. Fogle gave it right back to him, and boom, right into the back of the net. So nice game for Warren Fogle as well. Brandt Clark, we're going to talk a minute about the distribution of minutes for the defense, but I did like to see Brandt Clark playing in a diverse, different positions on the Kings' second power play unit. He's really more like another forward. And especially if we're going to see like Drew Doughty and Joel Armia on the point, he's kind of roaming around from side to side. Great job by the Kings of utilizing his unique abilities, getting him out there on that second power play unit, kind of in maybe non-traditional positions for a defenseman. But He's really not, like he's an offensive defenseman. He's not your typical defenseman out there on the power play. So, he's not going to be in those kind of traditional spots for the most part, where he's just staying up at the point and looking for a point shot. He can do that. He's got that nifty little wrist shot that he can put on net, and he did it a couple of times in this one. But I like seeing Brandt Clark moving around and being in a few different places. I did want to check in though on the minutes played for the defense, and I didn't recognize this real time, but I was surprised to see the distribution of minutes in this game. Certainly never a surprise when Drew Doughty is leading the way, although his minutes were a little bit down. He had over 25 minutes in the previous game. I like seeing Drew, frankly, around 23 minutes as he was in this one, 23 minutes and 21 seconds. Brian Dumoulin, although he was listed as on the third pairing defensively, had the second most minutes played by a defenseman in this game, 20 minutes and 41 seconds. Mikey Anderson right behind him, 20 minutes, 25 seconds. Cody Ceci, 19 minutes, 15 seconds. Joel Edmondson, 18 minutes and 59 seconds. And bringing up the rear, Brandt Clark, 17 minutes and 26 seconds. Now, 17 minutes played is not limited, but it's also a little surprising to see him down at the bottom. If the Kings had been killing a bunch of penalties or something, then you could maybe see this, because Brandt Clark is the one defenseman for the Kings who does not kill penalties, but that wasn't really the case in this one. So again, 17 minutes, 26 seconds. It's not a lack of ice time per se, but I was surprised to see him at the bottom, and I was surprised that he wasn't maybe a little closer to where Joel Edmondson was, around the 19 minutes. But it's not a bad distribution of minutes for the defense, but a little bit surprising, and I don't know, maybe a little disappointing that Brandt Clark was the defenseman who played the fewest minutes in this one. I hope that we don't see that too often this season going forward. Did want to talk about Adrian Kempe. I had mentioned in his previous game, he looked very un-Kempe-like, in my opinion. And I had wondered if maybe this was somehow related to his contract situation. Probably not, but we won't know until this thing gets kind of sorted out. He was a little bit more Kempe-like in this one, but still he had just one shot on goal for the second straight game. He didn't have any points. He was a -2. So I did think he looked better than he did in the previous game, but not quite there yet for Adrian Kempe. Hopefully he's saving it all for the regular season. And Darcy Kuemper, we talk about the Kings having a weird game. It was a weird game for Darcy Kuemper. He was cruising along. He was not seeing much action at all. Maybe made 3 or 4 decent saves through the first 2.5 periods. Everything else was very routine. Then he let a weird goal in where he was deep in his crease, and his left pad was bent actually back into over the goal line. And instead of kind of bent out against the post to protect on a wraparound shot, he never got over. And again, his pad was bent and into over the goal line. So when the puck wrapped around and hit his pad, it was already over the goal line. Initially, it wasn't ruled a goal because it did happen quickly, but the War Room in Toronto saw it, and they messaged the scorekeeper, and they stopped play, and the Ducks got a goal. I thought the second goal that the Ducks scored was also stoppable. It was a shot in close that Kempe just didn't seem to react to it very well. Kemper, excuse me, not Kempe. The third goal was the 6-on-4 power play goal. A decent shot into the top corner of the net, but again, Kemper was pretty deep in his net. And then the fourth goal was just a point shot with traffic in front, went off something. I don't even know what it went off of. Maybe it was a King, maybe it was a Duck, but I won't hold that one against him. But it was not, again, it was a weird game for Darcy Kuemper. He was really, really good and didn't need to be great, certainly. And that's a difficult position for a goalie to be in, to be someone who's just not seeing a lot of action and then suddenly he's seeing a lot of actions, but he's a veteran. He's been around. He's seen those types of games before. So it was not, I would say for Darcy Kemper, it was not quite the performance he would have liked going into the regular season. But of course, the Kings do get the win. And because when there's a win, we always award the 3 stars of the game. Our number 3 star is going to be Warren Fogle for his goal and his assist. Kevin Fiala with the game-winning goal and also an assist is our 2nd star. And our number 1 star is Philip Deneau with his 2 goal and 1 assist performance. So the preseason is over. The Kings are now getting ready for their season opener Tuesday against the Colorado Avalanche, but the Kings may be without a key player. They also may have a big surprise revealed on opening night. We may have the details on that coming up next on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. All right, so the preseason is over, and if you don't know it, 7 preseason games for the LA Kings. That's the last time, hopefully ever, we're going to have 7 preseason games. The NHL is reducing the number of preseason games down to 4 going forward, so that's good. I think 7 is way too many. But the Kings went 5-2 during the preseason, just for those keeping score, which is fine. I mean, it could have been 7-0, and I wouldn't be getting all that excited about it because the preseason is the preseason, and you're playing a lot of different players and a lot of different lineups. But at the same time, I'd rather it be 5-2 than 2-5. But I thought overall the Kings played pretty well this preseason with a lot of different players in the lineup. I would say my one big takeaway, my one big surprise this preseason was Jeff Malott. We did see him at the end of last year after Tanner Jeannot got hurt. I honestly didn't give him much of a shot of being in the opening night lineup, but it looks like that is definitely going to be the case. So Jeff Malott, I would say, was my one big surprising takeaway from this preseason. Now, looking ahead to the season opener on Tuesday against the Avalanche, the Kings may be without forward Alex Laferriere. Now, you might remember he was shaken up late in the second period of the previous preseason game against Utah. He didn't play the final few minutes of the second period, but he came back and played in the third period, and we all assumed he was going to be okay. Just got shaken up, but came back. And when we saw he wasn't in the lineup for the game against the Ducks, the final preseason game, we thought, okay, maybe it's precautionary, or maybe he's just getting a day off. Turns out that was not the case. Afterwards, head coach Jim Hiller told us that Alex Laferriere may not be available for the season opener. Hiller saying, quote, "I don't know for sure. He's just not 100% right now. We'll see what the next few days brings, but he's not a guarantee." And again, that was head coach Jim Hiller afterwards talking about the status of Alex Laferriere playing in the season opener. So let's go back to what the Kings lineup was for this game against the Ducks, because if Alex Laferriere is out, I believe this is the exact same lineup we're going to see on opening night, with Joel Armia moving up from the 4th line to play on Laferriere's spot on that 3rd line, along with Philip Deneau and Warren Fogle. Samuel Hellenius will be at center on the 4th line, and Alex Turcotte and Jeff Malott will be on the wings. We still don't also know about Kyle Burroughs. Now, he isn't expected to be in the lineup, but he has been banged up as well. Doesn't sound like it's serious. Same thing for Alex Laferriere. But if it seems like whatever the injury is for him, he could miss a few games. I don't think it's serious enough that they would put him on injured reserve and call up another forward, whether that be Taylor Ward or Akil Thomas or Andre Lee remains to be seen. And again, this is all if that's the case. Now, it's possible with Sunday and Monday off, and of course not playing on Saturday as well, maybe Alex Laferriere will be okay enough to play. There's no sense in rushing it, though. You want to be cautious. It's the start of the year. You don't want to be foolish with it, rush somebody back when they're not ready. Maybe they they injure it more and then they're out for a longer period of time. So don't know what the injury is. Don't know upper body or lower body. There was no specifics given. But again, if Alex Laferriere cannot play the season opener against the Avalanche, I believe the lineup that we saw in the final preseason game will be the same lineup we see coming up on opening night. There were a couple of other injury scares in this final preseason game. Quentin Byfield got slashed, was bent over, drew a penalty, went off the ice, goes right down the tunnel to get checked out. Fortunately, even though he didn't play on the ensuing power play, he came back shortly thereafter, so he appears to be fine. And Adrian Kempe suffered some sort of right arm injury. He was flexing it on the bench, was in some discomfort. Chris Kingsley, the trainer, came over, checked him out, but Kempe didn't miss a shift, so he should be fine as well. So we know Corey Perry is going to be out, obviously, for a while. Jeff Malott should draw into the lineup for him. We already knew that was going to be the case, but Alex Laferriere may not play in the season opener, may not play in the next night as well against Vegas. And if that's the case, I believe it'll be Joel Armia replacing him, Alex Turcotte, Sammy Helenius, and Jeff Malott on the fourth line, but we shall see. So we knew the Kings were opening up the season Tuesday at home against the Avalanche. And apparently there is a big surprise that is going to be revealed. Now, if you are like my wife, you hate surprises. So much so that we can be watching a suspenseful movie. And if I've seen it before, she will make me tell her what's going to happen. It took a while for me to get used to that because to me, the suspenseful part is the fun part, but it's not fun for my wife. And so I had to realize, hey, not everyone's like you. And so I tell her so she doesn't get upset because that's what she wants. Anyway, so if you're someone like my wife who doesn't like to be surprised, then you'll want to listen to what I have to say. But if you like surprises, maybe you want to pause, not pause, mute the podcast for like the next 20 seconds. Okay. So a friend of mine sent me a screenshot of a message he got. I don't know if this was just for season ticket holders or not, but it said, quote, "The biggest night of the year is this Tuesday, October 7th. Don't miss Kopitar's last home opener, an epic match, and one huge surprise," end quote. Now, what is this surprise? Are we going to have a special person come out and drop the puck for the opening ceremony? Andrei Kopitar's, final home opener. Maybe Dustin Brown comes out and drops the puck or something like that. I don't know, but my friend tells me he believes the Kings will be unveiling their new third jersey and wearing them on opening night. Now, I don't know if that's the case. That's what I've heard. It has been unusual that the Kings have not revealed what the third jersey is going to be yet. I had thought they would want to unveil that for the season opener because people want to spend their money. They're excited about the season. And then I was thinking, well, maybe they're like, okay, it's a new season. People are going to spend their money because they're excited about the year. And then we'll kind of let that wear off a little bit. And then we'll throw them the new jersey. And then they'll want to spend their money again. But I don't know if that's the case. But the rumor is that the Kings will be unveiling their third jerseys and wearing them on opening night. So that could, if you're a jersey nerd like me, then you're even more excited potentially about what is going to happen on opening night. Will that be the case? We'll find out. It should be fun. I did want to give a quick shout out to all the supporters of this show that I met at the Kings Fan Fest on Saturday afternoon. I was just there to see my old friend Sam Batesh, who's now hosting Kings Talk, but I had many people come up to me and say hello. And I'm not going to remember everyone's name. I apologize, but there were a couple of different Steves. There was Robert and Jeremiah, the father-son tandem. We had Tom and Tara, husband and wife. The guys in the team store who told me they were going to the Kings Stars game in Dallas this year. And there were a few others as well. So just wanted to say thank you for saying hello. I love when people do that. I love when people aren't shy about, just coming up and saying hi. So I appreciate you guys. It was great meeting you, and thank you for supporting the show. And for you everydayers, those of you listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, our next show is going to be a preview show of the Pacific Division, kind of get you ready for who the Kings are going to be competing directly against for playoff spots, where I think the Kings are going to finish, who I think in the division is going to make the playoffs. And then on Tuesday, we'll have our interview with longtime Kings TV analyst, Jim Fox. He's going to get us ready for the season opener on Tuesday against the Avalanche and also talk about his thoughts on this upcoming season for the LA Kings. Again, excited about the new season and excited to be bringing you Locked on LA Kings 5-6 days a week as we go through this regular season. All right, if you want to send an email for the show for any reason at all, lockedoneddie@gmail.com is the email address. You're always welcome to post your thoughts on the show if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section. Stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're at Locked on LA Kings. And if you're a fan of the show, please tell your friends about the show. New season for the Kings, new season for the podcast and the YouTube show. And if you have Kings friends, coworkers who like the Kings, you think they maybe don't know about the show, you'd like to make them aware of it, I would personally appreciate that. And if you are a Kings fan who doesn't have an unquenchable thirst for Kings information and knowledge and special things, we do have LA Kings Extra available for you. We have fan chats, we have exclusive content, watch parties, things like that. If you're interested in that, send me an email, lakingsextra@gmail.com. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching Locked on LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.